Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Jazz. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all things fitness, locks, business, and just life in general. In today's video, I am going to show you guys how I structure an efficient but effective glute workout. Y'all, when I say efficient, I mean efficient. If you have watched any of my videos, you know I am the queen of efficiency. I am the queen of getting in and out of the gym. Ain't nobody got time for 2-hour gym sessions. I know I don't. I know you don't. So I'm going to show you guys how to structure a glute workout with only 4 exercises. Yes, I said 4 exercises. It is going to help you build your glutes. I promise you. This is the same structure that I utilized when I grew my glutes. I'm sure y'all are ready to see what this workout looks like. So let's go ahead and get into it. So in today's workout, I'm going to start with probably the most recognizable and most popular exercises to grow your glutes, and that is going to be the hip thrust. Hip thrust is super popular for a reason, and it's because it works. If you are trying to grow your glutes, an exercise that you need to include is the hip thrust. Now, there's so many different variations. Barbell, dumbbell, if your gym has a hip thrust machine, you can use that, but you need to be doing some type of hip thrust. Okay, so you're going to get in front of a box or a bench. Prefer to use a box. In my experience, most benches are going to be a little bit too tall. I think sometimes people make a mistake of using a bench that's too tall and they feel super uncomfortable. So if your gym has boxes and they have different height boxes like I do here, I would really recommend that. So at first I want to make sure that the middle of the bar is in alignment with my hips. I'm going to roll it here. All right, y'all, I'm going to hop in with a temporary voiceover to explain the form of the hip thrust. So from here, you want to make sure that your feet are about, I would say hip width to shoulder width apart. It can be a little bit wider. Your toes can be pointed out slightly. You also want to make sure that your feet are not too close or too far away. You want to make sure that your shins are vertical. So if you look at my thighs and you look at my shins, they create that nice, like almost 90-degree angle. Then you want to make sure that there is no lower back arch. You do not want to arch your lower back. So make sure that you're tucking your pelvis under, tuck your hips under. And something that really helps you keep a neutral spine is to tuck your chin. That small cue makes such a huge difference. So if you're someone that has trouble with letting your lower back arch during hip thrust, tuck that chin is going to make a huge difference. Okay, so when you get that bar on your hips, you're going to lower down, and then I want you to push through your feet and come up into your thrust, really squeezing those cheeks up top and really thrust it with some power. Thrust that bar with some purpose, girl. Don't do no lackadaisical thrusting. Really squeeze those booty cheeks at the top of this movement and make sure that you're coming into full hip extension. Make sure you're getting full range of motion at the top. All right, and we are moving on to movement number 2, reverse lunges. Now, since we are focusing on growing the glutes, you want to make sure that you're providing yourself some external stability. The more outside stability we provide, the more that we can focus on hitting those glute muscles. So we want to start by holding the dumbbell in the opposite side of the working leg. With reverse lunges, the leg that is in front, the leg that is not moving is the working side. That's where you should feel it. You're going to step backwards, lead with your toe, make contact, bend those knees, and make sure you are pushing off the front foot, not the back foot. Now, this is a cue that is going to make a huge difference. Make sure that you are leaning forward at your hips. This way we can get our hips more involved. And when we get our hips involved, we are getting our booty involved. We want to make sure that we are getting that hip extension in this movement. So lean forward slightly when you're doing this movement. And you can apply that cue to several movements, step-ups, squats, Bulgarian split squats. That forward lean is going to make it more glute focused. When we have a more upright torso, that is encouraging knee flexion, and that is going to hit our quads more. Now, these movements are always going to utilize both. They're going to utilize both quads and glutes. We don't ever fully isolate one muscle, but we can bias it by switching up certain cues. And this is an example of that. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about training close to failure. And training close to failure is one of the most important things that you can do when it comes to growing muscle, not just glutes, but any part of your body. If you want to grow, you need to be training close to failure. And what that means is that you want to be training within 3, 2, 1 reps of failure. And what failure means is there's different kinds of failure, but just to keep it simple, it's basically when you can no longer do the movement anymore with good form. Once that form starts to get really ugly, you feel like you don't have any more left to give, that's failure. So you want to train when you feel like you're within 3, 2, 1 reps of doing that. When you get done with your set, you want to feel like, okay, I only had 3, 2, or 1 reps left in the tank on that one. Now, for every single set, you don't have to train to failure or close to failure. I always like to start with a warm-up set. So it's always going to be something a little bit lighter just to get my body ready for the movement. That's the best kind of warm-up that you can do. A lot of people feel like you have to get on the ground and do all these activation workouts for 15-20 minutes before your glute workout, and that's doing nothing but fatiguing your muscles. So do a quick 5-minute warm-up. The most important warm-up that you can do is that first warm-up set. So just to show you what this looks like, I'm not going to do it for every exercise. Like for my hip thrust, I did not go to failure. I just wanted to show you guys what the movement looked like. But I'm about to take these lunges close to failure. So what I'm going to do to add a little bit more intensity, and this is a trick that you can use for your reverse lunges, I'm going to grab a plate. I'm going to elevate my front foot. And that is going to allow me to get more range of motion. It's going to make this movement more intense. It's going to work that muscle more. And this is a great way that if you feel like you're not feeling your glutes, this can help. You want the dumbbell on the opposite hand of the working leg. So here, so my front foot's going to be elevated. This right leg is going to be the leg that's working. So my left hand is going to hold the dumbbell, and when we go to the other side, vice versa. So I'm going to hold on. Here we go. We're going to go close to failure. Okay, this is gonna be the last one. 16. Okay, so typically I don't like to go to 16 reps. 16 reps, you can definitely get results from going that high. But for me, again, I'm all about efficiency. So what I would do typically, this was the heaviest weight that I could find that was near me. This is 35 pounds. So typically, so that I can do less reps, I would do more weight. 16 is fine, but for me, I really like to keep my reps 10 or less. It's just efficient. I do less reps and get the same results. But that is what training near failure is. I probably had about 1 or 2 left in the tank. That's what that should look like. So this next exercise can be called multiple things: 45-degree hyperextension, back extensions, or whatever you want to call it. Now you might be familiar with the machine because you're used to doing, like what I said, back extensions for your lower back. But there's a way to tweak this movement so that we can get more glutes involved. And when you make these adjustments, you'll be surprised about how much you can feel it in your booty. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys with one set with just body weight, another set weighted. Okay, so for these, it's important to make sure that you're adjusting the machine. If I can get it. For me, I'm short, so I need it to be a little bit lower. If you're a little bit taller, you may need to adjust it up. But you just want to make sure that you are leaving room for your hips to move. Okay, so we don't want these pads all the way up here. If not, your hips won't have room to move. So when you're getting on this, let me show you again. Your hands can go here. Your feet are going to come here. Toes can be slightly pointed out. Okay, now when I do this with my clients, a lot of them feel nervous because they feel like they're going to fall. It is an inverted position, and that can feel a little scary, but it's got you, I promise. Okay, so again, feet pointed out. Okay, bend your knees some too. So come here, you see how my knees are bent some? Make sure that you're bending your knees. That's going to bring in more glutes. From here, engage your core. So take a deep breath in, breathe out, but make sure that you're maintaining that tension. So make sure that your core is engaged. You do not want an arch in your lower back. So make sure that you have a nice flat back, no arch like this. And what can help with that is to make sure that you tuck your chin. Tuck your chin, make sure that there is no lower back arch, chest down, not up. Okay, cross your arms. Then you're gonna lower yourself down. And then you're gonna come back up. Stop right about here, squeeze those glutes. Okay? Come back down, squeeze the glutes. Here, squeeze the glutes. One cue that I love that I heard someone say is on the way down, think about RDL form, Romanian deadlifts if you're familiar with that. On the way up, hip thrust. You feel the stretch going down like you're doing an RDL. On your way back up, thrust, squeeze those cheeks like you do in a hip thrust. So RDL on the way down, hip thrust on the way up. That's a great cue. I forget who I heard say it. I did not come up with that, but I love using that cue for my clients. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you guys with some weight. I'm going to use 25 pounds, but guys, do not do what I do. If you have never done this before, stick with body weight. Start with like a 5-pound plate, maybe a 10-pound plate. Don't go right to 25, okay? I'm just gonna show you guys what it looks like. Get in position, knees bent, toes can be pointed out. You're gonna grab your weight, and instead of holding it here, you might see people hold it here, hold it out in front of you, okay? Chin tucked, boom. Come down, boom. Boom. Okay, that's what that looks like. It does take some practice. You might feel it in your lower back. Again, this is a back extension, so you will utilize your lower back, but there's some tweaks that you can make to make sure that you're not using it too much. We are moving on to our fourth and final exercise. Like I was saying earlier, you don't need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 exercises for a workout to be effective, especially when you are focusing on one muscle group like the glutes. Our fourth exercise is going to be a cable abduction. This is going to be great for working our side glutes, our glute medius, our glute minimus. What you want to do is get a cable machine. You're going to need an ankle attachment. Okay, you're going to put it on. Wrap it around your ankle. Nice and secure, but not too tight. Okay, and in most cases, a little bit of weight is going to go a long way for cable abductions. Now, it is going to depend on what cable machine you're using, and this is something that a lot of people don't know. All cable machines are not made equally. So 5 pounds on one cable machine can feel a lot different than 5 pounds on another cable machine. So just keep that in mind. If you have a gym that has multiple different cable machines or you go to a different gym, test out the weight because they feel a little bit different from machine to machine. But again, cable abductions, a little bit goes a long way. Don't throw 50 pounds on the cable and expect to be able to do cable abductions. It's going to be crazy hard. Okay, so we also want to make sure that we have something to hold on to. You can find external stability from simply holding on to something. So like this cable machine has here, it's a little handle. I'm simply just going to hold on to it. Okay, what we want to do is walk back the foot that's not strapped up, step back, because we want to be able to get a little bit of a stretch across this foot. Okay, this is going to allow us to stretch this muscle and kick out. So let it come across the foot some, kick out. Across the foot, kick out. Okay, for these, we can also bend over a little bit, bend forward at the hips. That's fine too. As you notice, this leg is the only thing that's moving. I'm trying to keep the rest of my body as still as possible. So I'm not doing this number. If you got to do that, you're using too much weight. Lower the weight. Okay, we want to make sure, like with everything else, that our core is engaged. You may feel your opposite leg working. That is not abnormal because your other leg is going to provide support and stability. If you think about it, all your weight is distributed on this leg. So your leg, this is helping. Of course, we're finding external stability by holding on to something, but this leg still has to take on the weight of your entire body. It's going to be technically working a little bit as well. We don't want it to take over the movement. You shouldn't only feel this leg and not feel this leg at all. We're going to strap up our opposite leg. So you're going to turn around. walk out, bring this back leg back so we can come across this foot, kick out, come across the foot, kick out, kick out. And you make sure that you go slow and controlled. Do not rush this. In most cases, my reps are going to be a little bit higher. A little bit harder to jump 5 pounds. A 5-pound jump feels like a lot for these. I would suggest, rather than trying to push the weight super high, increase reps. Now, I know I said earlier that I prefer to do higher weight, lower reps. And for things like hip thrust, reverse lunges, even the 45-degree hyperextensions, it's easier to do that. When we're working such a small muscle, it's going to be a lot harder to increase weight, so you're probably going to have to increase reps. We still want to train close to failure when it comes to these. We're just going to probably be at a higher rep range, and that's completely fine. All right, y'all, and that is the workout. 4 exercises is all you need. Make sure that you're focusing on thrust variations, hip hinge variations like RDLs, things like reverse lunges, step-ups, 45-degree hyperextensions, cable abductions, cable kickbacks, glute-focused squats. Those are going to be your bread and butter. And remember, one of the most important things that you need to focus on when you're trying to grow muscle, when you're trying to achieve hypertrophy, which is just another name for muscle growth, training close to failure and progressively overloading. So like I showed you with the reverse lunges, make sure that you're taking at least 1 set of your exercises close to failure. Go until you feel like you only have 3, 2, or 1 rep left in the tank with good form. Progressively overload over time. That just means to make sure that you're increasing weight, rep, sets, gradually over time. It doesn't necessarily need to be every single session, and even if it's just increasing it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds, doing 1 extra rep, as long as you are doing that gradually over time, you are going to get results. But you have to remember that this does not happen overnight. You have to be patient, consistent. You have to be repetitive. Yes, this is boring. Some people ask me, well, how can I make sure that it doesn't get boring? It gets boring. That's just, it is what it is. I don't know what else to tell you if I'm keeping it transparent. If I'm keeping it real with y'all, you're gonna have to repeat this. You're gonna have to do the same movements over and over and over again for months, maybe in some cases even years. It's just what it takes to grow muscle. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. Again, thank you so much for joining me for another video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.